Hi everyone, thanks ever so much. I'm going to be honest with you from the start. I can't tell you anything about copywriting. So my name is Ben McKinney, and I'm a window cleaner. But I want to be a copywriter, or at least I did, until Pete and Glenn did their first half of their talk. So I'm really new at this. I really can't tell you anything about copywriting. But I thought it would be interesting, just for 10 minutes, given the somewhat unusual route I've taken into your industry, to just chat briefly with you about a few of the experiences I've had entering the copywriting world. So there's a few things I'm just going to think about. I'm going to go for who, what, and why. Who am I? Why have I decided to do this? And what have I experienced in the first few months of my embryonic career? If I use this as a pretend microphone, it'll be because I've been practicing with the pretend microphone and I expected to have one. So apologies about that. So really briefly then, the really boring bit out of the way, I'll give you a little bit about my background. So I run a small window cleaning business, and I have done for about 12 or 13 years. When I want it to sound posh, I call it specialist high-level cleaning. But essentially, I've made my living by washing people's windows, homes and businesses, for the best part of the last decade, and it's been great. I've earned what I needed to. I've had the flexibility to work when I want. I've got a young family now, and I managed to expand the business a little bit to support them. Along the way, I've employed a few people. There's times when I've turned over more, and then there's times when I've turned over less as well. It's a fairly nice, flexible way of life. So about 8 months ago, I decided that I'd like to try something different. So I began retraining as a copywriter. And in a roundabout way, that's how I met Andy, as Vikki said. So if you know Andy, and Vikki's touched on it, if you follow him online, or if you read any of his blogs or look at his videos, you'll know that he bangs on about window cleaners. And I'm not going to say he's obsessed, but he does talk about them a lot. So his window cleaner is also called Ben, which is the best name for window cleaners. So Ben, I'm going to, with a bit of poetic license, I'm going to imagine a little bit now. So Ben, I'm going to say once a month or so, turns up at Andy's home, and then, you know, whatever window cleaners do, he sprays a bit of water around at the window, shakes a scrim, climbs his ladder, gets down. And after about 20 minutes, he relieves Andy of 20 quid, and he goes on his way around the neighbourhood. And then probably, I don't know, late morning, early afternoon, after a spot of lunch, he's probably earned about 300 quid, and he packs up his stuff early, and he goes surfing. And my day's a little bit different than that. I'm not an early starter, as you might have seen when I wandered in late here. But it's kind of the same in the sense that I start a little bit later, but I have a nice little flexible way of working, and I earn pretty much what I want to earn, and then I go home, and it's great. And I'll be honest, as an aside, I think Ben Mark II is underselling himself a bit. I think Andy's price needs to go up. So anyway, this brings us to the why, I suppose. Why have I decided to make a career change? And why have I decided to become a copywriter? So why is a fashionable word in business at the moment, and it's not really the why anymore, it's your why. What is your why? Now, I haven't read that famous book, but I probably should, because I find it a little bit difficult to answer that question. Why am I leaving a fairly nice, easy way of life? A relatively lucrative career, I suppose you could say, and I don't know, I can't really put my finger on it, I suppose. It's not that I don't know, I just can't maybe tell you in as many words now. So let's leave the why aside for a minute. We might circle back to that in a minute. So what? So about what have I found transitioning to a copywriter? Well, about 4 months ago, I started trying to get paid clients, people to pay me for writing words. In that time, there's probably one thing I've learned about copywriters. It's a massive generalization, and it doesn't apply to anybody here because you're all bright, beautiful beacons of the industry. But copywriters, you're a bit down on yourselves, aren't you? Now, I'm not going to say you're a miserable bunch because I think that would be rude. But, oh my goodness, the conversations I have with copywriters, that client, they want something done on time. And they want it done as soon as possible. I can't believe it. And have you priced that properly? No, harumph. So I scratched my head about this for the first few weeks. And it wasn't until I'd completed my first few jobs and got paid, not very much, but got paid, that I started to think I kind of understood why. And it's really because I think that you guys really do care about what you're writing and the people you're writing for. And you might say, well, of course I care. I want that big fat check to drop onto the through the letterbox onto the mat, and I want the client to hire me again. Of course I care about them. But I think it's a bit more than that. I think you really care about the people you're writing for. I think you really care about the small business that's punching its weight against bigger, badder competition, either locally or nationally. I think you really care that the sales letter you've written for, I don't know, a teacher who wants to come out of the industry but still be a freelancer and run a business around her young family because working in an institution doesn't suit her anymore. I think you really care that the sales letter that you've written for her goes out into the world and finds success and really helps that person. And I think that you really care that the advertising campaign that you've written for a massive global corporation has success. Not because of the name and that person, but because right in the middle of all that, there's a person that you deal with, and they're invested in you, and you're invested in them. And it really makes you care about what you do. And not just while you're writing either. I think afterwards as well, you really worry that, oh my goodness, I should have put that introduction, that should have been the conclusion, and that middle bit, oh, I don't know whether I should have put that in or not. Once it's gone out, you really care that what you've done finds success and keeps on going. And then I think we can circle back round to the why, or my why, because I think that I want to change, because while cleaning windows is great, and I've done okay and had a nice little life, you get to work in the fresh air and it keeps you nice and fit, got a nice pair of shoulders. I don't think I've ever cared about a window after I cleaned it. But I have cared about the groundworks company that does things to the earth that I didn't really know about, but they're trying to build a business after a career of working for somebody else. And I have cared about the teacher that wants to leave education and become a freelancer and have success in her own right. So there you go. That's just a little, really brief bit about me and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And hopefully that resonates a little bit with you, because I think we're a fairly like-minded group of people, and you're all a really supportive group of people as well. So to finish, I'd just like to ask a favour of you all. I might have mentioned that I'm new at all this. So I'd like to ask you a question, and I'd like you to answer me using the power of social media, please. If you would tweet me an answer to this question. It's an obvious one. If there's one piece of advice that you'd been given, or you wish you'd been given when you started, what is it? If you could tweet that to me. I'm not important enough to have anything up on the sign behind us. So you'll have to write down my Twitter handle, which is Hamina1, which is Hamina, and the number 1. That was the bit I was most nervous about, was spelling that out. If you could write that down and send me a message, I'd be really, really grateful. I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to talk to you all, to be at your conference and to be a part of your industry. And I think that now that I've done this, I feel less nervous, and I can probably actually say, my name's Ben McKinney, and I am a copywriter. Thank you, everybody.